Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, James, we are rolling again. How's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going with you.
It's going good here. Another busy week. Same old, same old. Kind of like last week. Weather's good, so can't complain too much. All right, so what are we talking about tonight?
The NFL 100 list that was, I guess, voted on by the players.
Oh yeah. So they've been doing this for a while now, and I think it's pretty cool. You get the different perspective. You don't have a professional evaluator making the list. You've got the players who have obviously their own experience on the field with the other players making the list, and yeah, the NFL's been doing it. I don't know, probably at least 7 or 8 years now, probably longer than that, but. Yeah, it's cool, We'll go through it, kind of give our take on what we like and don't like, where we think maybe they got it right or wrong. But at the end of the day, I think this one is it's all opinion based, really. It's hard to compare apples to apples. Like how do you compare a quarterback to a defensive end? Like you can kind of just generally say, hey, you think this guy's better? He means more to his team. But even with in a position group looking at just the quarterbacks, you can say. It's not always apples to apples because maybe the surrounding cast is different on a team or the coaching's different or whatnot. And so I don't know. This one should be a fun one.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I guess let's start off and we'll just go from the top on down. So let's start. We'll kind of chunk it into tens here, and let's look at the top 10. I'll read them off, and then if you want to kick it off and start giving me your opinion, we'll do it that way. So obviously at 1 we got Lamar Jackson. 2 is Russell Wilson. 3 is Aaron Donald. 4 Patrick Mahomes. 5 Michael Thomas. 6 Christian McCaffrey. Then George Kittle, DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Gilmore, and at 10 we got Derrick Henry.
Yeah. So there's a couple in the top 10 that I have huge issues with. The one is Lamar Jackson being number one.
Okay.
I mean, there's no way he's better than Mahomes. Like if you look at last year, yeah, he had 1,200 yards rushing, so that kind of might have put him ahead. They both have MVPs in their second year. They both in his third year, Mahomes won the Super Bowl MVP. Mahomes has a career 304 yards per game passing, and last year he had 287 while Jackson had 208. Mahomes, I think, is just the look. Mahomes can make any throw you want him to make, left-handed, behind his back, off the backboard, off the scoreboard to
Yeah.
to however you want him to make it. And he has averages more TDs, more yards, had more yards last year, and he missed one game last year, and he's just he had a little bit less passing TDs last year than he did the year before. But I mean, then again, last year for a good portion of the year, Mahomes was hurt.
Yep.
And he was dealing with the knee injury, but I think he's just a lot better quarterback than Jackson. I'm not saying Jackson's a bad quarterback. I would just drop Jackson down one and put Mahomes up there.
I gotcha. Yeah, when I looked at that, I kind of thought at first I had the same initial reaction that I thought, in my opinion, Mahomes is the better quarterback. He's the guy I want on my team. And then I just started kind of looking at the stats more and looking at the season. I tried to not put as much weight on the playoffs because, when I kind of look at how the players evaluate this, I'm not sure that they put a ton of weight onto the playoffs. But if they did, I think that it sways into Mahomes' favor, like you're saying with the Super Bowl and whatnot. But yeah, I thought, geez, just Lamar's stats were out of this world last year. And with him winning the regular season MVP, I kind of thought, okay, either way you go, I think you couldn't be wrong. And I was fine with Lamar getting one. I think that Mahomes takes that spot in the future, and it's basically his to lose after this year. But Lamar did have some crazy stats, and so I guess I'm okay with it for this top 10. The thing that really kind of got me was Russell Wilson above Mahomes, and that's where I kind of wondered how the players are looking at this, because I think if you look and you focus just on last year, which is where a lot of the weight has to be, then maybe you can make the case in the regular season that Russell Wilson outplayed Mahomes, at least at times. And some of that is probably because Mahomes was partially hobbled for a couple games during the regular season. But I think if you go from week one all the way through the Super Bowl, man, I don't know. Mahomes has got to be number one.
Right, but even with Russell Wilson, if you look at Mahomes last year, they had similar passing statistics, where Wilson had 4,100 yards and 31 TDs, where Mahomes had 4,031 yards and 26 TDs. Russell Wilson's completion percentage last year was 60, so it was 66 to 65.9. So I mean, they had similar years last year. Wilson had a little bit more rushing yards, I think like 150 more or whatever, but they're not. That's really
it was pretty comparable.
It's pretty comparable seasons, but I think over his career, Russell Wilson has proven to be more consistent. So I can see why they would possibly put Wilson ahead of Mahomes. But even though I disagree with it, I can see where they would think that.
I gotcha. Yeah, I think we're going to find that as we go through a lot of these, that the more you dig into them, the more you can kind of make the argument a number of different ways. But yeah, hey, it's just, two guys here shooting the shit, kind of saying, yeah, we like it for this reason and that reason, or we don't like it for this reason or that reason. But yeah, hey, at the end of the day, we're not the players, and so we didn't get to make the list, but it's fun to critique it and give our opinion on it. So, one of the things that I started off by looking at with the top 10 is that it's heavily weighted towards offensive players. And so you've got 3 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. And, each group of 10 is a little different if you go through it that way. But, it makes me wonder, is it weighted that way in the top because offense is flashier, it gets more attention in the headlines, and I think sometimes defenses maybe it's hard to quantify. Like with a quarterback, it's easy to say, oh, he had 4,000 passing yards. But sometimes, like if you're looking at a defensive end, for example, the stats might not really show that guy locked down that side of the line the whole game, because maybe he only had 1 sack and a couple tackles, but that nobody went that way. He kept it contained, and he was a difference maker. And so, and I think the list in general, when you look at it, it's 55-45 offense versus defense. And so as we go through it, it just seems to me that there's a little bit of a bias there, probably because offense gets, they get more of the spotlight.
Yeah, which makes sense.
All right, so aside from the quarterback stuff in the top 10, obviously all the guys on this list are rock solid. I'll say the one that kind of stood out to me, and maybe I'm reading way too much into this, but I kind of thought DeAndre Hopkins being in there maybe was out of place. And I know that this guy's been a freak, especially his time in Houston with all these random quarterbacks before Deshaun Watson. He is definitely one of the best receivers in the game. I just wonder, hey, this guy got traded. Is there something going on there? There have been people that I've read about that have said, they think he's maybe losing a step a little bit. And I don't know. I guess I'm wondering, hey, is this guy really a top 10 player if all this is going on? I don't know. What do you think?
See, I'm on the fence on Hopkins. Like, I mean, he's solid. I mean, he's consistent with terrible quarterbacks that he's had, but he has. It seems like from 18 to 19, he took a little bit of a step back.
Yeah.
With I mean, he went from he played he missed one game in 19 and played the entire season in 18, but he had 400 more yards in 18, and he had four more touchdowns in 18 than he did in 2019. So I can see where that argument can be made that he's taking a step back, but he's pretty much with imagine like if he had like Drew Brees throwing to him, or if he had an offensive coordinator that actually knew how to call plays, and so I mean with what he was dealing with in Houston to put up the stats he did, I think it is what puts him up into the top 10.
Yeah, you're comfortable with it. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I guess I think of some of the other wide receivers on the list, and the next guy we'll get to in the next 10, but is Julio Jones. And, honestly, I've heard some similar stuff with him, saying that maybe he's lost a little bit of his top-end speed. And, yeah, I don't know. I guess I look at last year, and I don't know. It just, to me, it's like, geez, it seems like a little bit of a reach to get him in the top 10. But, hey, it's all right. This is what the players think, and I'm cool with that. I respect it either way. The one thing I loved about the top 10 was George Kittle making the top 10, He's basically my new Gronk-like man crush. And so a tight end getting that high, man, I think that's pretty awesome. That's a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, I thought that was terrible.
Well, I know, you've talked about it a little bit before that, they're not a pass-first team, and he's not really the focal point receiving-wise, and so it's, he does a lot of run blocking and things like that, and but I'll let you explain.
So I thought if you were going to put a tight end in the top 10, it had to be Kelsey over Kittle. Like Kelsey is consistent. He consistently has a 70+% catch percentage, averages 70 yards per game. If you look at 2019, Kelsey had 77 yards per game, where Kittle had 75.
Yeah.
But Kittle had a higher catch rate, which, I mean, that could be simply because teams were focusing on Kelsey a little bit, where not necessarily trying to stop the run, because Kansas City didn't have that well of an established run game compared to San Francisco, where teams knew that they were trying to run the ball first. And I mean, they both had 5 TDs, but I mean, you're talking a yard and a half a game difference between the two, and career wise, it's 2 yards per game, like a quarter or eighth of a touchdown more per game, and Kelsey also has a higher catch percentage than Kittle
yeah.
for his career.
I got you. And, I guess when I look at the two, each at their current stage of their career, I don't know. It's just my opinion. I think there's some more to Kittle's game than you get with Kelsey. He's not really much of a blocker, and Kittle's a beast. He can do whatever you ask him to do. And I think, Kittle's trajectory is going up. Kelsey's it's flatlined or maybe even starting to go down. And so I don't know. I guess I gave Kittle the edge, but, I think many people agree that they're like very clearly the top 2 tight ends in the league right now. All right, so any other comments on the top 10, or you want to skip to 11 through 20?
Well, I don't know about Derrick Henry being as high as he is at 10. Like, yeah, it might be splitting hairs, but I think that he had a monster season last year, and I can see that. But I think, just me personally, I think Zeke should be higher than Henry.
Okay.
Just watching him, Zeke looks like one of the best, if not the best. I also thought that Saquon Barkley was rated low, which we'll get to that.
Hmm.
But it 10 seems a little bit high for that running back, and being the second best running back in the league seems a little bit high for Derrick Henry, who he's not as dynamic as some of the other running backs. He's very one-sided in his game, where some of the other, like Christian McCaffrey, who's at 6, is he can catch the ball as well, just like Zeke or even Dalvin Cook can. That those players can have that they can have an effect in the passing game, where I don't think Henry has that much of an effect in the passing game. It's just his bowling over people.
I gotcha. Yeah, and I can't argue with that. I think Henry is very one-dimensional. He's definitely lacking in the passing game, and then even running-wise, he's like almost purely a north-south runner. The guy doesn't have a lot of wiggle in his game, but he's effective. At least he was last year with the full workload that he got. And I don't know, when it comes to running backs, I like them in all sorts of different flavors, and I thought it was really awesome that he just hammered all season long, never got hurt, consistently produced, and I'm cool with him at 10, but I think it's an uphill battle for him to hang on to that spot at 10 for a lot of the reasons that you're saying. And I don't think he's got that much more to his game in terms of all of a sudden flipping the switch and becoming a great receiver this year. I think he's just going to have to continue what he does with that north-south running. And, will it continue? Will he get hurt at some point? I don't really know, but that could definitely open the door for somebody like Zeke or Saquon Barkley to get up there and beat him out of that spot.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think? You want to go to 11 through 20?
Let's go to 11 through 20.
All right, so with this group, we're starting off with Julio Jones. Then we got Drew Brees, Bobby Wagner, Tom Brady, Chandler Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Nick Bosa, Travis Kelce, Khalil Mack, and Deshaun Watson. And so far, I've been pretty good with the names, but I'm sure as we go, I'm going to butcher a few, so let me know when I do.
Oh, let's see where to go with this one. Deshaun Watson being okay. Drew Brees, I think, is taking a lot of steps back in his career. He's more of a game manager than the quarterback he was like 3 years ago. Where last year, I think he needed the injury as much to be able to complete the season and be as effective at the end of the season. Because if you look at the year before, when he played the entire season, he started to decline after like week 13, 14 area. His play declined significantly. I don't think Tom Brady is hard to say with him because he's the best quarterback ever to play the game. It'll be interesting to see what his 43-year-old season looks like. Last year he didn't have the weapons that he didn't have any talent in the passing game, and so he still put up good stats. So he's probably about right about, but I don't know if he should be behind Breeze. I think Breeze should be dropped down a lot, like probably outside the top 20 on this.
Yeah, with Breeze, it was one of the first things that stuck out for me when I looked at this grouping, and similar to the top, there was a lot going on here quarterback wise. There were 4 quarterbacks in this group of 10, which seems a little bit high, but at the same time, I get it. Quarterbacks are the face of the franchise, and so that's kind of why they gravitate towards the top of the list as long as they're good. With Breeze, I was confused, and I think that there's a lot of legacy built into this. And I think you can say the same thing with Tom Brady a little bit, is that, these are guys that historically have been great, some of the best quarterbacks ever in the league. But Breeze last year missed some time. He was hurt. I get it, when he played, he was solid. But, it's like, where do you draw the line when you're doing these evaluations where that injury is a factor or not. Like there's guys on this list like Patrick Peterson. He was suspended, not injured, but he didn't make the list. And I don't know. I guess with Breeze, I'm just thinking he's definitely top 100 worthy. But I agree with you. This high, if we're putting a lot of weight on what he did last season, I think this is too high for him.
Yeah, and like if you look at Deshaun Watson last year, Deshaun Watson had a similar season, even to Russell Wilson. They had Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson had very similar rushing yards. Watson had 200 or so less passing yards in one less game than 250 than Russell Wilson. Had about the same amount of TDs, had about the same completion percentage.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, looking at this group outside of the quarterbacks, there were two things that stuck out for me. One of them was just looking at Bobby Wagner. He's at 13. This guy's phenomenal. He's been phenomenal for a long time. And I thought this was one where he was top 10 worthy and didn't make the cut. Kind of going back to where I was talking about DeAndre Hopkins earlier, I would have been a lot happier if they were flipped on this list, where Bobby Wagner made that top 10, Hopkins gets into the second tier. I thought that would have been a better fit, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then also Nick Bosa. I'm not even sure Nick Bosa is the best Bosa.
The better
brother.
Bosa, yeah. Well, that was my next one that I was a little bit upset about.
Yeah, and he wasn't he a rookie last year?
He was, yeah, and I think that it helped that he had a great supporting cast, and their defensive coordinator lit the world on fire, kind of out of nowhere. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's like I know I was just arguing some of the legacy stuff with Breeze and Brady a little bit. For Bosa, I think it's like it's almost like inverted, where it's like I kind of need to see a repeat of this to know, was he just a flash in the pan, or is he really this good? And then if he's really this good, is it this high this good, or is it somewhere in the 30s or 40s this good?
Well, I think though right now there's no way he should be ahead of his brother. I think last year with what San Diego. I'm sorry.
You'll make that adjustment one of these days.
One of these days I'll make that adjustment. If you look at what the Chargers were dealing with last year with what's his face? Oh, why am I?
Philip Rivers, you're talking about?
Huh?
Sucking it up, turning the ball over all the time?
No, the linebacker that was hurt. Why am I drawing a blank on it? Smith.
Okay.
Smith?
I'm trying to support you, but I'm swinging and missing here too. All right, so anyhow, you're saying that had he had healthier guys around him, he would have put up a little more stats on the sheet, right?
Yeah. This is gonna kill me. What the heck was his name? I'll come with it. I'll come up with it. Let's move on. I'll come up with it.
Sure. Yeah. So while you're looking, really for me, 11 through 20. Otherwise, I mean, hey, these, like I said earlier, these are a lot of solid guys. I'm cool with it. I thought it was a lot of quarterbacks this high that maybe could have been a little bit lower. Bosa, I don't know, man. That one kind of was like a little bit of a shocker to me to get him up to 17 that soon. And I think he had a great year. I really do. I guess, like I said, I just need to see a little bit more of it to feel comfortable that 17 was the right spot for him.
Derwin James.
Oh, the safety. Yeah, Derwin James. Yeah.
Yep. I think the Derwin James injury last year kind of derailed that defensive season, and Joey Bosa still had an excellent season with dealing with less defensive weapons around him.
Oh yeah, Joey Bosa's legit. He's proven it. You know, he's a solid guy, and he's later on the list. I'm sure we'll talk about him at some point, but yeah, and I agree with that. You know, has he beaten out his brother yet? I don't know. That's pretty fast. Okay, well, yeah, let's jump to 21 through 30. So we've got Dalvin Cook, Tyreek Hill, Cameron Jordan. We got Zeke, T.J. Watt, Von Miller, Jamal Adams, Richard Sherman, Quentin Nelson, and Mike Evans. Where do you want to start?
Uh, Delvin Cook.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, Delvin Cook. He's a solid running back. Is he better than Zeke? No. There's no way he's better than Zeke. Also, he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, that's a
He
big issue.
gets injured all the time. I don't. I think in this range, 20 to 30 is about right for Dalvin Cook, but I definitely wouldn't have him above Elliott.
No, I'm glad you picked up on that. And honestly, I missed that when I was looking at this. But you're absolutely right. I think Zeke is a clear cut above him. And this is one of these things where when I think about what's going on in the players' minds, and are they looking at the one season with Dalvin Cook like, well, he put it all together last year and he was mostly healthy the whole season. And then I don't know, are they like discounting Zeke somehow? Maybe because he's got a great offensive line he's playing behind, or maybe they're giving an edge to Dalvin Cook because he catches the ball a little better. I don't really know, but I think you're right. I think Zeke is definitely a step ahead.
Yeah, and then also Jamal Adams being this low to me seems really low for Jamal Adams at 27.
Where would you
I,
put him? Like 15 to 20 range?
yeah, probably 15 to 20, maybe a little bit higher than 15. I think he Stephon Gilmore, he's not better than Gilmore, so you can't go that
That
high
high.
with him.
Yeah.
But he definitely is the best safety in the league,
Okay.
in my opinion. What he was dealing with in New York was an offense that was turning the ball over all the time last year, a defense that was kind of shoddy, not getting the pass rush that I saw,
Yeah.
that from what I saw. So he was dealing with a lot, and he still is has a solid season. And then Richard Sherman
Yes.
being this high, I think 2 years ago, yeah, he'd been top 30, but now to me it seems like he's on the backside of his backside. He's declining. He's not the player he used to be.
Yeah, I agree 100% with the Richard Sherman part of this. He's definitely in the decline phase of his career. If you went back a few years ago, yeah, I mean the guy was dominant, but I mean just looking at the Super Bowl, I mean the dude got torched on a couple big plays in the Super Bowl. I mean it's he's definitely lost some of the magic. Still a great player, but when I looked at him, I looked at Mike Evans at 30, and I thought, man, in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, if I put these guys up against each other, who do I think's winning that battle? I take Mike Evans every time over Richard Sherman. Maybe you go back a few years ago, maybe it's closer to 50-50, I don't know. But right now, I think Mike Evans burns him every time.
Yeah, I think so too. But when you talk about Mike Evans, I'm not even sure Mike Evans is the best receiver on his team.
Well, Godwin, yeah, I mean, hey, he came out and tore it up last year. There's no doubt about that. I think they're both really good. They're just different styles. And so it's going to depend on what kind of offense, who's throwing the ball. And that's one of the things for this year that makes me wonder. I think Brady is going to gravitate more towards Godwin. And I think that's going to hurt Mike Evans a little bit this year.
Yeah, but if you look at Mike Evans last year, when he put up his big stats, he had huge plays where Jameis Winston was throwing the ball 50 yards downfield, and he'd burn by guys. Can Brady do that?
That's a question mark. And that's another reason why I think Godwin's got the edge this year in terms of who's going to be their top receiver. Well, here's one that, and I got a couple on this group that I wanted to comment on, but this one, it's probably going to sound, at least a little bit disrespectful, and I don't really know how else to put it. But when I saw T.J. Watt here at 25, it just didn't add up to me. And I think that this is a guy. He performs. The stats are great. He always seems to be kind of like in the right place at the right time. But when I watch his tape, I just can't help but think this is more about the system he's in, the way that they're setting him up on that defense. And I don't know. I think I don't want to say it that way. That's where I'm saying it sounds disrespectful, because I think he's talented. But I think that he's being put in a really good position to kind of highlight his stats and things like that, which has inflated his ranking. I would have been more comfortable with him. I would say I don't know, probably 40s or later, to be honest. This just to me felt a little bit too high.
Well, it also seems a little bit too high if you look at right below him, Von Miller. When I think about which linebacker I would want more, if it's T.J. Watt or Von Miller, I'd want Von Miller more. Von Miller seems more apt to make the play as opposed to have the play come to him. Like what you were kind of describing, like the play's coming to T.J. Watt. He's in the right position at the right time. Von Miller's a playmaker.
Yeah, and with Von Miller, I guess I'll just add on to another reason why I think T.J. Watt's lower is that I think Von Miller is too high on this ranking. I think you go a couple years ago, I would have Von Miller this high, no problem. But if you look and you put a lot of weight just onto last season, I thought it was a rough year. Well, I don't want to say a rough year, but it was not as good of a year for Von Miller. And I've read some people saying, well, hey, if he had a better supporting cast, some guys that were healthy, that would have been dramatically different for him. Hey, that's great, but I don't know. I didn't see the same kind of fire. I didn't see the same kind of production. And he's one of my favorite linebackers. Man, I was like pounding the table wanting the Lions to go after that guy in the draft. But I don't know. I just think here at 26, if I'm putting a lot of weight on last year, which it feels like these rankings, they look really hard at the recent memory, just this past season and what's going on now, I'd drop him down a little bit, let him earn it back next year.
Yeah. Well, I can't disagree with that on Von Miller, but I mean, I just looking at him below T.J. Watt, that is where.
Yeah, that's off.
Yeah, and also I just noticed that Dalvin Cook's also higher than Saquon.
Yeah, that's one I can't get on board with that. I agree. I think Dalvin Cook definitely has got to drop down a couple spots in the running back rankings, not just the overall.
Yeah.
All right, so here's probably the one that I had the biggest beef with when I look at this grouping, and it's because these guys just don't get any attention. But it's Quentin Nelson at 29. I think this guy's the best lineman in the game right now, and we're gonna say really the best offensive lineman pops in at 29. I would have had him a lot higher. I would have had this guy definitely in the 15 to 20 range. When I looked at the guys above 15, I kind of thought maybe that's hard pressed to get him higher than that, but definitely higher than where he's at here. And we'll see that as we go on. Offensive linemen, they're kind of scattered throughout. Most of them are later on. But man, I don't know. I don't want people to forget about these offensive linemen, man. They do a great job protecting their team, opening up running lanes, doing things like that. And this guy's been a beast. I think he deserves a little more credit than he's getting here.
Yeah, but I think that credit's going to come as gets more experience in the league. I mean, last year was only his second year, so I mean he's going to develop. He's already the best lineman in the league, and is going into his third year. You give him in his fourth, fifth year, he'll probably rise up the rankings. Yeah,
so, and that's one of these things, because the stats are a lot different to look at for a lineman. it's like flip it. Look at Nick Bosa. Man, that guy. It was a 1 year, and he's out there on the scene, getting all sorts of attention. You got Quentin Nelson sitting there playing his part. I would say at least equally as important to his team, and there's a totally different perception because of his position.
Plus, if you look at what he did last year, it, I mean, 3 penalties for the entire season.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but yeah, that's pretty good for all the snaps that guy took.
Yeah, and he had 3 holding penalties in 1,045 snaps.
Yeah, pretty darn good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and I guess this is a little bit of a tangent, but talking about that, man, I think Indianapolis, they got a lot of talent, and I think Philip Rivers, he's going to be behind a great offensive line, but man, I just don't know if he's got enough to get him over the hump this year.
yeah. I don't know about that either. He's not as accurate. He's not. It's like it's like what we're waiting for Brady. We're waiting for Brady just to all of a sudden fall off the cliff.
Yeah,
It's like Eli Manning. Eli Manning just fell off the cliff,
yeah.
and that's happened. Looks like it's happened to Philip Rivers, and so I don't know. I can't argue with them trying it out for a year because Brissett wasn't the answer last year.
Yeah, they were desperate. Yeah, I got you. They got to run the crap out of the ball, put him in a good position where he's making the smart decisions, not turning it over like he has in the past, and maybe they let the defense and the run game kind of carry him and let him be that game manager now at this point of his career. We'll see how it plays out for him. But all right, so let's jump to 31 through 40. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, so 31, Saquon Barkley. Then we got Shaquille Barrett, Aaron Jones, Joey Bosa, Minka Fitzpatrick, Nick Chubb, Jalen Ramsey, Chris Godwin, Tyrann Mathieu, and Daniel Hunter. Where do you want to start? I know you think Saquon should be higher,
Yeah.
or at least maybe you flip Zeke and Dalvin Cook, and then flip Dalvin Cook and Saquon.
Yeah, probably like I think Saquon probably is in the 25 to 30 range, so 24 wouldn't be bad. Aaron Jones at 33, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I think he had a heck of a year. I want to say he had 19 touchdowns last year. I mean, it was big. He put up some stats. But yeah, this is a guy that up until last year, he was always an unknown commodity. He had been injured. He had been streaky. He put it all together last year. And then what do? They go out and draft a guy in the second round, basically saying, they want more from the running back position than he's given them. I don't know. Or they need to compliment him. And I think that speaks volumes to, I don't know. I guess that's probably the wrong way to put it because I like him. I just think, hey, was it a flash in the pan or can he repeat it? I don't know.
And good memory on the 19 total touchdowns.
19 total, yeah.
Yeah,
19
16
total's
rushing.
big, man. In this day and age for a running back?
It it is, but I just don't know about him being at 33. I haven't. I
Well,
just have.
I'll tell you this here. You know me. I like Chubb. I'd put Chubb ahead of him. But honestly, when I looked at this group of 10, I have no bones to pick. I think everybody here you can make the case on. And, yeah, maybe Aaron Jones, the full body of work of his career makes this a little bit suspect. But I think it was a hell of a year. So I think you can at least make the argument to get him into the 30s somewhere.
Maybe into the 30s. Chubb. My issue with Chubb was was
He
when it was
he's another one of those guys that he's not as one dimensional as Derrick Henry, but yeah, he's definitely more of a pounder.
yeah, but if you look at Chubb last year in Cleveland when
Kareem Hunt
Kareem
came
Hunt
in. Yeah,
came in, Chubb's touches dropped off significantly. He had exactly the same amount of touchdowns. I'm sorry. The year before, he had more touchdowns than he did last year total.
yeah, but like last year, I don't think that they had to pass on some of the carries to Kareem Hunt. I think they were doing it strategically to lighten the load, knowing that they had two solid guys. I think if they would have kept him as the exclusive runner, he would have continued performing. He would have continued kicking ass, and he would have been solid. And then honestly, with Kareem Hunt, he's a guy which I had a note, but I wasn't going to bring it up unless we got to this, and we got to it, so I'm going to say it. But if he was on any other team and he was a featured back, I think Kareem Hunt probably makes this top 100 list. And
Yeah,
he was definitely in that conversation up until he had his incident in Kansas City. And I don't like commenting on that stuff all that much, but obviously I don't agree with that behavior and what happened. I think it's good for him. He got a second chance. But had that not happened, we could be talking about him as one of the top five running backs right now.
exactly. And that's where I was going to go with it. Is I'm not certain that Chubb's better than Hunt.
Well, I think he's got a better scope to him. He can catch better. He can do a little bit more like that. But I don't know, man. I like some of the old school grinders. And hey, I got my second man crush here is on Nick Chubb. So
Yeah,
I'll fight for him as long as I can, man.
and then uh, Godwin at 38. I just like I said, I think Godwin might be better than Mike Evans. Evans is a one-dimensional. I'm going to beat you by speed with my speed. God,
Well,
yeah,
and size.
yeah,
Evans is going to beat you out size wise.
yeah. Godwin is more of a I'm going to do whatever I can to get that extra yard, and he seems to get more of the underneath stuff and then break it downfield more.
Yeah, so you got Mike Evans at what, at 30? What do you think here? Like placement wise, would you switch him? Would what do you think's the right spot if you had to take a stab at it?
Probably. Well, first of all, if you taking T.J. Watt and Von Miller out of the 30s and put uh, Godwin somewhere there, 25, 26.
And have him tighter with Mike Evans, but ahead of
Yeah,
him. I got you.
exactly.
Okay. What else about this group of 10 did you like or not like?
Well, I don't like Joey Bosa this low.
Yeah, you think he should have been higher, definitely
I
above
think,
Nick Bosa.
yeah, definitely above. I probably actually would just flip them.
Okay.
Put Nick here and Joey at 17.
Yeah, I think I'd probably be okay with that too. I think it's you're putting a little bit of weight on the full body of work, giving Joey a little bit more credit for having done it for a few more years. And then it gives, Nick it's like, hey, you had a great start, but you want to get that high, you got to do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then outside of that, I don't have that much of an argument. Like Shaquille Barrett, that seems low for him.
Hmm.
But then again, that's also because they have Von Miller and T.J. Watt in the top 26
Yeah.
at 25 and 26. So I think I would definitely put Barrett above those two.
Okay.
Uh, that's about it for these. Like I mean, I can't really argue. It seems about right for Jalen Ramsey. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe maybe a little high for Matthew, but I mean, it'd be splitting hairs. So I'd
Yeah.
probably drop him down to the next group.
Yeah, I think when you look at his career, it's been a little bit more spotty, but he did have a good season, and so I'm fine with it there. I think everybody in that spot you could make an argument for.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's look at 41 through 50. So I'll read them off, and then I want to actually start off with a comment on this one. And so 41, you got Jadeveon Clowney. Then you got Alvin Kamara, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mark Ingram, J.J. Watt, Dak Prescott, Tre'Davious White, Zadarius Smith, Amari Cooper, and Darius Leonard. Just the first guy on the list here of this 10, Jadeveon Clowney. To me, all right, I'm definitely splitting hairs here, but they got him listed as a linebacker. This guy's really more of a defensive end. That is a lesser important thing. But when I look at this and him at 41, I'm thinking, okay, if this guy is really that good, why is he still sitting out there in free agency? There's just way too many question marks on this guy to have him this high. I don't know. My opinion. I think he's a guy that the work ethic is questionable. I don't know. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. I don't see him being this high, in my opinion.
So the list, when I pulled the list, I have him at defensive end.
Okay, so then yeah, maybe the source I had just mislabeled it. I got you.
Yeah, but I think the reason why he's not signed is because he's asking for way too much money.
That could be, but so production-wise, do you think he belongs at 41?
I
mean, let's just look. So you got J.J. Watt at 45, and I know he's a lot further into his career, and let me just skip ahead. You got Chris Jones at 52. Let's see. You got who's the next defensive end? From there's a little bit of a slide on defensive end. You got Jarrell Casey at 71. Or maybe in terms of defensive ends, he should be somewhere in that range. I just don't like him at 41. Bump him down, bump him outside of the top 50, and I probably wouldn't complain about it.
Yeah, I would say I probably would agree with you. I think from if you compare 2018 to 2019, well, yeah, he played less games, but it seems like he had the 2 solid years, and then outside of those 2 solid years, he hasn't done much.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a little high for him.
Okay, so the next guy from this group, this one was really to me an even bigger head scratcher. Was just Jimmy Garoppolo, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Dak, but I definitely have Dak ranked higher than Jimmy G. And really, I think Jimmy G is getting a boost from having Shanahan as his coach. Maybe I would have him in the top 100 somewhere, but it would be definitely a lot closer towards the bottom. It would not be in the top 50.
I don't think I would have Jimmy G in the top 100 at all.
I think that's fair enough.
I think Jimmy G he hasn't shown anything. When it came down to it, well, yeah, I'm talking about the Super Bowl. If you look at his Super Bowl, he couldn't make that one pass that was needed. If he hits Sanders, they win the Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl champion. You're talking.
You're
a
the
lot
hero. You made it happen. Yeah, but
exactly.
Yeah, but he was like 3 for 9 or 3 for 11 or something at the end of the game. I mean, it was bad. And there were passes that were like just so far off the mark. It was like, dude, who are you throwing to? It was horrible. And I know that that's a high pressure game, and you kind of got to look at more than just that. But I don't know. I think he's shown flashes of potential. He's just not been consistent. And I would look at other quarterbacks in the league and say, for sure, I'm more comfortable with them. Dak Prescott's one of them, and I don't even like Dak.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dak Prescott. I mean, going down the list a little bit. Kirk Cousins is better than Jimmy G, I believe.
Yeah.
That Kyler Murray, eh. I just looking picking out some other. Josh Allen, I think, is better than Jimmy G.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. That's why I said like when I looked at it, I don't know if I would have him on this list at all. Yeah, he had a solid season last year. I mean, he had a he, we
Yeah,
think
I mean,
think of
honestly, like here's the deal, and I'm just going back just to validate this, but we didn't talk about Matt Ryan yet. I would 100% have Matt Ryan above both of those guys. I'd have him above Jimmy G and above Dak.
yeah, I 100% 100% agree. I don't know if I would have Dak Prescott on this list because with the thing with Dak Prescott is a game manager.
Yeah,
He's not that quarterback that's going to go out there and no matter what's going on win the game for you. It's Zeke makes Dak good,
yeah,
not not the other way around. And if you look at when Zeke was suspended, was that 2 years ago when he was suspended for the first four
yep,
games? Dak struggled, and then Zeke came back, and yeah, it also coincided. Dak struggled until they got Amari Cooper, and once they got Amari Cooper, he had a receiver that he had a solid receiver, which I mean, 49 might be a little bit low for Cooper, but I mean, I don't know who I would put him ahead of on this list.
man.
Prob-
I, I'm just I'm having a moment here because I'm going through the list. Matt Ryan's not even freaking on here.
no, he's not.
Yeah,
That guy,
I didn't pick up on that before, but like I don't know. In my opinion, are you freaking kidding me? You got Josh Allen above Matt Ryan. You got Kyler Murray above Matt Ryan. I don't know. I don't get that at all, man.
yeah. And the one thing in this group that I wanted to hit on was also Alvin Kamara.
Yeah,
The thing issue I have with Alvin Kamara is when he had Ingram and he had you had the two back by committee. Alvin Kamara was I
he was
thought
electric, man. He was
he was
amazing.
electric. I thought last year without having Mark Ingram there, he took a step back.
Yep.
And I'm not high on as we've talked before. I'm not high on Kamara going into this year. I just something's telling me he's going to take another step back this year.
Yeah, I worry. I agree with you, and I think I've probably said it before that I think he is a better complementary back. He can be one of the best backs in the NFL if he's got like some thunder to his lightning, you know. And
Hmm.
last year they tried making him the featured guy, and it didn't work out. He needs to be one of those guys that comes in and makes a big play because he's fresh and everybody's like, oh man, we don't know what to expect from him. But if it's like, hey, he's out there every play, it just hasn't worked.
Exactly.
All right, so with Amari Cooper, going back to that for a second, to me, it's suspect here at 49, and really probably the only reason I say that is just that he had games last year where he just absolutely disappeared. And I think we talked about it in one of our other deals where I want to say they played New England and they held him without a catch. To me, like that's like borderline. I don't know if you should even be in the top 100 if you can't even register a catch in a game. And that's probably harsh. It's one game. I don't want to just like say it that way, but I think he's had a heck of a run since he got traded over to Dallas, and I don't want to hold that against him, but he's streaky, man. He's streaky for sure, and I think it's going to be even harder for him now that they brought in CeeDee Lamb. And honestly, when I looked at last year, this is like it's a little different than the Godwin Evans debate, but I kind of thought Michael Gallup was starting to beat him out as the best receiver on that team last year.
Yeah, I completely agree there. Like, I don't know if having him here, if his disappearing act, how much of that was because of Dak, though?
Or the Patriots, Bill Belichick saying, I'm going to take you out of the game.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at look at um, look at Dallas. Dallas had one of the best passing games in the league last year. I think they were
Oh
like the
yeah.
second best passing offense. And for Amari Cooper, who's supposed to be one of the best receivers on his team, for him to disappear in that big of a game, it's
It's not good.
no.
Doesn't bode well for him. And the Michael Gallup thing, I guess I do want to just stop and clarify that is that they're in different roles. Gallup has been one of these guys who's developed. He's turning into something good. But you put him in that wide receiver one spot. Can he keep producing? It's hard to say because now he's going up against harder talent. And so it's an unfair comparison. I'm just saying statistically, Gallup really showed up last year and started putting up numbers on a consistent basis. And can he beat out Amari Cooper at some point? I don't know, maybe not, but he definitely was a key part of that team.
Yeah.
All right, so one more comment I got on this group. I liked all the guys in the group defensively, except for Clowney. I especially like Tre'Davious White and Darius Leonard. I think both of those guys could have been higher, to be honest. When you look at Tre'Davious White in particular, you go to that previous group and you got Jalen Ramsey at 37. I could have easily seen those guys flipped. I think Tre'Davious White, in recent memory this past year, right now, I think he's the better cornerback of the two.
Yeah, but I think one of the things with Ramsey is Ramsey played what half the season last year in
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, and he was very unhappy there, so he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't producing. And I think that's why you look at it, because if you look, he played, oh, I guess he only played 3 games last year in Jacksonville.
Yeah, but I get your point. That's enough to make it a choppy season for him. You got to go in, you got to jive with a new team, and yeah, I get it. It's almost like you're handicapping it to reflect that, and you should. I don't know. I think purely man to man, I think Tre'Davious White has been tearing it up, man, and I think Jalen Ramsey's great. And maybe I think a lot of the talk about him trying to get traded and being unhappy, maybe I've discounted him because of that. Maybe it wasn't right, but I don't know. I like Tre'Davious White right now.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. Just I think Tre'Davious White's one of the best corners in the league, so I
Yeah.
can't really disagree with your analysis, which he's not. Wasn't he on the fence if he was going to play this year or not?
Oh yeah, because of the COVID stuff. Yeah, he almost opted out, but I heard
Yeah,
he ended up sticking in, so he's going to
yeah.
play.
Which if he opted out, that, I mean, not saying that opting out, whatever he has to do to keep himself safe, what he feels he has to do, what he feels comfortable with, I have no problem with, because health and safety should be first. But I think if he opted out this year, I think that would have downgraded Buffalo's defense a lot.
Oh, big time, big time. I agree. Yeah, and I think they have. I want to say Start Lotulelei opted out. And I know he's not been like as big of an all-star in recent years, but he was definitely a contributor to that defensive line. Yeah, I think if Tre'Davious White dropped out, man, that would have taken him down big time. All right, what do you think? Moving on to 51 to 60?
Yeah, we can move on to 51 to 60.
All right, so at 51, we got Todd Gurley. Then we got Chris Jones, Marcus Peters, Stephon Diggs, Zach Martin, DeForest Buckner, Devontae Adams, Kirk Cousins, Odell Beckham, and Logan Ryan. And here, I can see you're thinking. So while you're thinking, I'm going to give you a not so bold prediction, James. My not so bold prediction is that Stephon Diggs is going to take a hit to his ranking next year. And it's not so bold because I think it's pretty obvious. Without Kirk Cousins and going to Josh Allen, they're just not going to pass the ball as much, which means his stats are likely to come down. And, it's like one of these things, watch what you wish for. You didn't want Cousins, or you were upset with Cousins the way he was throwing. Man, Josh Allen, I don't know. He averages, like 200 yards a game or something? That's going to be, like, really problematic for Diggs.
So that's a good question about what Diggs is going to do this year. I'm high on Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is going to be a solid quarterback in the league. And to answer your question about what he averaged per game, it wasn't even 200.
Oh my God, it wasn't even 200. Well,
No.
here's the thing. Like, I don't want to like tear down Josh Allen because I think he had a great year last year in terms of the overall way he helped that team win games. He did a lot on the ground, and there were some gadget plays. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of Trubisky a couple of years ago. Some of these gadget plays that they had, but it was working. I'm just worried. Can it be replicated? Can he take another step with his passing? I like John Brown on that offense. I do think with Cole Beasley, they got a couple receivers, even Dawson Knox at tight end. I think the pieces are there for him to take another step passing wise. I just don't see them passing like Kirk Cousins was passing, which is going to hurt Diggs.
Well, that and Josh Allen isn't as accurate as Cousins.
Oh,
Cousins
no
is
way, not
a
even close,
phenomenally
man.
accurate
Yeah,
quarterback, and
they're
that's
like opposite ends of the spectrum, man. Polar
yeah,
opposites.
exactly. What when you were commenting about my thinking, I was trying to determine how badly to go after Todd Gurley at 51.
Okay, let's hear it.
So if you look at 2 years ago,
When he
yeah, two
tore it
years ago
up,
when he tore it up, yeah,
yeah.
he was phenomenal. Then towards the end of the season, they stopped really using him. He's a decoy. They barely played him in the Super Bowl, and he's just not the same running back. That something about that season, and it's his arthritic knee that
Yep.
that killed him. But so you have Todd Gurley here at 51. He hasn't shown that he can be that dominant force. Last year, he wasn't even close to what he was. This year, he's on a new team. There's going to be a reduce off season, so he's not going to get the chemistry with the team as much. And I just and he's on a team that passes way more than the Rams do.
Yeah, I think maybe with him there's some legacy stuff tied in, and maybe there's some hope that that passing element is going to help him this year, so he doesn't have to just pound it up the gut north and south. But I agree with you. I think that there's reason to be suspicious of that spot. And man, you're talking about a guy who was arguably the best running back in the game, and he's had a big fall from grace, which is unfortunate, especially because it has got to be related to that arthritic knee. Um, I don't know. I hope the guy comes back and tears it up this year, but I hear you, man. I think it's a risk.
Yeah, and then I probably would flip Chris Jones into Forrest Buckner.
Okay.
I think I just watching him play, I think DeForest Buckner is 2 steps ahead of Chris Jones.
Yeah, and so, on the list I got, they got Chris Jones listed at defensive end, and they got Buckner at defensive tackle, but I think Chris Jones has played defensive tackle.
See, my list had them both at defensive tackle.
Okay. Yeah, so my list must have been garbage, but hey, I'm not going to name the
Hey,
source because I don't want to make them feel bad. They were good enough. They got the order right.
yeah,
um, yeah.
that's okay. My list still has Todd Gurley as on the Rams, so
Oh, okay. Well, um, well, look, I like both those guys. To be honest, I like Chris Jones. I like DeForest Buckner. Um, I don't know. They're so close. Yeah, could you flip them? I'd be cool with that. I think Chris Jones. maybe got a little bit more attention this past year. Buckner's kind of been one of those guys. It seems like people don't really ever talk about him. But when he went to Indy and got the big contract, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, he deserved it." And so, he's getting the respect, which I'm cool with.
Well, and also that's if you look at it with what we were talking about the Bosas, San Francisco had DeForest Buckner last year,
Yep.
and that probably helped
Oh, I'm sure that
Nick
helped Bosa
Bosa
big
and what he
time.
did.
Yeah, it takes a lot of pressure off him. And that's kind of where I was going to say that, with a lot of this, it's hard to get to an apples to apples comparison because, you have so many different factors, the supporting cast, the scheme, who's the competition, all those things. And yeah, Buckner definitely helped take some pressure off of Nick Bosa. So here we go. Look, we got Zach Martin at 55. Okay, finally we get another offensive lineman on here. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Really show these guys some love, man. The offensive line play in the league is not that bad that we only have two guys in the top 55.
Yeah, I agree. And with Zach Martin, I mean, that entire Dallas offensive line is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't argue with him being on the list. I think it's for I agree with you for having the second guard at 55. That seems a little bit biased against offensive line.
Yeah, and here, let me ask you this, and maybe Zach Martin is good here, but Tyron Smith, he's like one of the best left tackles in the league, man. Would you put him higher than Zach Martin? Or I guess if we're looking just in recent memory, maybe Zach Martin takes the cake between the two. I mean, because honestly, I'm just going to scroll down. I don't even remember if he's on the list. I got to believe he is. Yeah, there we go, 78.
I don't think I would.
Okay.
I think yeah, Tyron Smith's one of the best tackles, but I don't think he's the best tackle in the league.
He's not as good as he used to be. Maybe is one way of saying it.
Yeah,
I think a couple years ago. I think you got to make that argument.
Exactly.
All right. Here's one that I know you want to talk about, but we got Kirk Cousins at 58. Finally, our guy's getting some love. This is a quarterback that takes flack every year that he's never good enough. He's not a franchise quarterback. Whatever garbage these people want to throw at him. This is one of the things I love about the players' rankings is that the players are saying Cousins is top 100 worthy, top 58 worthy. I don't know, man. I love it. This one got me excited. And I know I'm biased as a Sparty, but Cousins started off as a late round draft pick who pretty much everybody I know thought the ceiling this guy had was career backup if he even made it in the league. And every year he improved and he became a solid starter, super accurate. And I don't know, man. I just love the guy. I'm going to be honest. I think, 58, I'd even put him higher. But I'm glad he's getting some love.
Well, yeah, I think 58 is low for Cousins. I think Cousins is phenomenally accurate. Anytime you can get a 70% completion percentage, you have a run first offense, and he's still throwing 26 TDs.
Well, here, let me ask you this, because we have Jimmy G higher up on the list, man. If Cousins is in San Fran with Shanahan, do you flip their spot on this list? Or do you think Jimmy G's? I mean, I think we both agree Jimmy G's.
Oh, even with where they are right now, I would put Cousins at least where Jimmy G is.
All right, what about Dak? Do you think Cousins is better than Dak?
Yeah, I think Cousins is better than Dak. I think Cousins is more consistent than Dak. I think Cousins is just he's just a better all around quarterback than Dak.
Yeah, you
I
put
think
him behind that line. What could he do?
right, exactly. You put him behind the line. Last year Kirk Cousins was sacked 30 times. A year before that, 2018 Cousins was sacked 40 times, and he still
Yeah.
put up 4,300 yards and 30 TDs.
Yeah, I was going to say 30 is pretty good for last year from where he's been.
Yeah, he had a 69% completion percentage last year. The year before that, he had 70%. Last year, had he only threw 6 interceptions the entire year last year.
Yeah, I like
The
that.
the big knock on Cousins was for the longest time was he can't win the big game.
Yep.
Like look at those years in Washington where all he had to do was beat the Giants and Washington made the playoffs, and if he didn't beat the Giants, the Lions made the playoffs, and he didn't beat the Giants. So last year he went into New Orleans and outperformed Drew Brees in the playoff game and beat Drew Brees in the playoff
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I
To
think
have him this low, it's absurd.
yeah, but I'm glad he's on the list. I think he's had a rough road getting this far, and now that he's here, uh, honestly, I think this year is going to be a better year for him. I think that Kubiak is going to let him open it up a little bit more. I know that they're going to focus on the run, but Kubiak does like to have his quarterbacks throw the ball, and so I think that it's because everybody's expecting so much of the run game. If they open up the pass a little bit more, those stats are going to go up quite a bit. I like the road he's on with this top 100 list. I think it gets better next year.
Yeah, and then Odell Beckham at 59. Again, I'm not even sure he's the best receiver on his team.
I was just going to ask you because when we go to the next group, it's kicked off with Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, so I definitely would have him below Landry, and then who's next? Tyler Lockett. I'd have him below Lockett. Eh,
So, so
I'd probably
let's
drop him down about 20.
okay. So let's talk about the two of them then, since we're going to jump to Landry in the next group. But here's the thing. Okay, Jarvis Landry is steady as can be. Okay, and he's one of these guys that's like 10 yards a catch. He's not like a 15, 20 yard a catch guy, but he performs and he's good for volume. He gets the receptions, he gets the production. Odell Beckham's more of like the flash guy. I need some big plays. I need the highlight reels. And, their offense last year wasn't set up to do that. I'm wondering how it's going to be this year because, you got Kevin Stefanski coming in. They're going to do a lot of run first stuff with play action passes, which is going to, I think, open up those deeper routes for Odell Beckham, which honestly, I think this year he is going to be better than Jarvis Landry because he's going to be put in a better position than Jarvis Landry. And I think that that's a disservice to Jarvis Landry is that in a different offense, like last year, Landry was the more stable, better wide receiver. In Odell Beckham, every year his stats have come down, his production's dropped. I think this is a year where it's do or die for him, and they're going to put him in a good spot where they're going to be doing these play action passes, these bootlegs, these things where it's like, hey man, we're going to give you time to get open deep. Now you got to make it happen.
So the thing, like, if you compare the two of them last year, Landry had 13. Am I doing my math right? No, I had 10 yards per game more. But
Yeah.
if you look at the catch percentage, com- compare the two's catch percentage. Landry had like 5% more, where Odell Beckham's catch percentage was 55%.
Mm-hmm.
That's really low for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
How much of that is Baker Mayfield versus actually Landry? Time will tell. But I'm sorry, Baker Mayfield versus Odell. But if you look at Landry, Landry had 5% more, had 60%. So some of that tells me it's Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and so what do you think with Cleveland in general? They brought in Jack Conklin at right tackle. They drafted a guy to start the other side. You know, the run game is obviously solid. The offensive line is going to be better. They brought in Austin Hooper at tight end. Okay, they're going to go run first, play action. How do you see this playing out for Cleveland? Do you think these guys all step up? Or do you think that Odell Beckham is really just a head case and, he implodes, basically putting Jarvis Landry as their top guy again, which I think could be detrimental for that offense?
So I think last year part of the problem in Cleveland was the fact that they hired Freddie Kitchens as their head coach.
I agree. I think it was a little too soon.
I think it was too soon, and they hired him because when they fired Hugh or whatever, yeah, Hugh
Yeah, Hugh
Jackson.
Jackson. Yeah.
When they fired him, Baker kind of took off.
Yeah.
Then last year so Baker they saw, oh, Baker likes him, let's hire this guy instead of doing a real coaching search. And now with Stefanski, I think that offense will be better. I think that Odell Beckham is going to be a head case because he's not going to, when they're going run first, Beckham's not going to get the passes that they're the
He's going to want more volume.
He's going to want more volume, and he's going to show his true colors. And this is probably going to be his last year in Cleveland.
Yeah, I got to believe either way, this is his last year in Cleveland. There's just been too much drama, and he's not performed for the contract. And so it's, they need a clean break. But yeah, they got to get through this year to get it, unless maybe they have a suitor to trade for him. But, I think Cleveland is better off riding him out for a year unless they can bring in another receiver. Or maybe they got a guy hiding under the radar that they feel comfortable with. But yeah, I think they got one more year with him, and then time to move on.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go to 61 to 70 then. So, yeah, we got Jarvis Landry at 61, David Bakhtiari, Preston Smith, Harrison Smith, Tyler Lockett, Laramie Tunsil, Demario Davis, Ryan Tannehill, Larry Fitzgerald, and Fred Warner. And I will let you kick it off. Where do you want to start? Okay, you're thinking that I'm going to jump in and
No,
start.
I'm not thinking. I I think Tunsil is better than Bakhtiari.
Okay.
I just from what I've seen, I think he's more sound, he's more consistent, he's just better than Bakhtiari. So I probably would flip those two. And I probably would not have Ryan Tannehill here.
This is one where obviously they're putting a lot of weight on this past year.
Yeah.
And I like Tannehill. Honestly, I think he was a good quarterback in Miami with a shitty coach. And I think it was great that he got to, show some of his talent last year in Tennessee. But yeah, I'm suspect with him being at 68. I don't know. I hope he can beat it. I hope he can hang on to it and beat it for this next year. But I wouldn't be surprised if he falls down a notch. And just talking about Tennessee for a minute, when I went through the top 100, I looked at every team and I tried to look at who are the top 3 or 4 people on every squad, so I could kind of say, oh man, I think this guy should have made the list, or he was better than this other person at his same position, or yada, yada, yada. And I'll tell you, man, when I looked at Tennessee, I was shocked at how bad I thought their roster was from a depth standpoint. Maybe it's just me. I mean, I wouldn't say they're bottom of the barrel. I think Washington and New York Jets, those are teams that are like bottom of the barrel right now. But when you look at the playoff run they made, and I know they just barely got in the playoffs, man, they had a magical season. And I'm trying to like temper my expectations that when I look at the overall depth on their roster, they could have serious regression this year. And I'm hoping I'm wrong because I like Tannehill. I like Derrick Henry. I love Mike Vrabel. I hope it happens for them that they can keep staying in the playoffs and getting better. I just think they got to develop some players, man.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Tannehill is last year he had 228 yards per game, which it's his career percentage is 231.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't have that much of a better season last year versus his years before his versus the rest of his career.
Yeah, it was, you talk about it's the full picture of he's now in a team that can run the ball and they can get him in a position where he's making, the smarter pass play. He's not having to force it. And, it just overall, the offense flowed better than it did in Miami, where basically you're the guy, you got to make it happen.
Yeah. And I just.
And frickin' Adam Gase just sucks, in my opinion. But sorry.
But I also thought that Tennessee was stupid for giving him the big contract they did.
Yeah, but it's tough because what do? Do you let the guy walk? You either got to give him the big contract and take the risk, or you got to start over at quarterback.
Okay, so what you do is the reason why they gave him the big contract was because they were going to franchise Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
and then they ended up not even using the franchise tag on Derrick Henry because of the fact that they signed him to a long-term contract.
So you would have preferred that they franchised him and wrote him out for a year.
Wrote him out for a year, do the extension with Henry, and don't do the extension with Tannehill, and see if last year was what he is,
or
was it a fluke or what he is? Because last year was the first year that he basically had more than a 2-to-1 interception, or more than 2-to-1 interception to TD to interception ratio.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, hey, I hear you. And maybe they wanted to do something like that, and it just wasn't in the cards because they had to prioritize Henry and they had to reserve it that way, or I don't know. But I don't know. Either way, I like Tennessee. I'm hoping that the success continues, but honestly, I think they're going to have some stormy seas ahead of them, and hopefully Vrabel can coach them through it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I like Vrabel as a coach. I don't think Tannehill is the quarterback that can win you the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and so I think when I look at it, I think he's a good enough quarterback that he could win a Super Bowl as long as they get the right pieces around him. I think you've got a guy in Vrabel that wants to continue to focus on the run, and he wants to build his defense. And if Vrabel can build the defense, I think that Tannehill's good enough with that running game to get him all the way. But, they got a long ways to go based on the roster I looked at. Man, some of the grades on the players, it blew my mind how low some of these guys were graded on that team for how far they made it in the playoffs.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is Tennessee wants to do it the Baltimore way, like when Baltimore won it with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was just good enough.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. There's only so many Patrick Mahomes in this world, man. Quarterback it's one of these things like, you hope to God you land a guy that's a top tier legit quarterback. But if you don't, you better stack the rest of the roster. And to me, I'm one of those guys that I just believe in defense. If you have a dominant freaking defense, you're going to put your quarterback in a great position. You want to have the pressure off of him so that he can play his best without that pressure. And, and if there's got to be pressure on him, you want to be able to have him rise to the occasion. But I don't know. I'm old school. It's like I like the pounder at running back, man. I love the top solid defense. I want to see defense and I want to see running games. and then I want my quarterback to be fucking great too. But if he's not one of those top guys, I'm hoping the rest of them can help that full package get there.
Right, but for that to be the case, you really can't
You can't pay him
pick
like
up.
that.
You can't pay him.
Good point.
Let
Good
me
point.
let me do this math real
Yeah.
quick. 4 year, you can't pay him almost $30 million a year.
Yeah, I agree. It's that's a tough spot. Is you look at just kind of historically now, we have enough data that says your Super Bowl window is at its highest when you have a bargain at quarterback, either a guy on his first year or a guy on a low free agency deal. Once you got to pay that guy, you're at a serious disadvantage. And yeah, so that's going to work against them. We'll see how it plays out. You never know.
Yeah, and then didn't they pay Derrick Henry like $20 million a year?
They did, and that's obviously they're going zigging when everybody's zagging with running backs.
Yeah, so I mean, you have $50 million. That's a little bit less than a 30-year cap in two players.
Yeah, probably why they let Jarrell Casey go. They had to make some room.
That's also probably why they have no depth and they have very low graded players because they
Yes.
can't afford to pay anybody.
Yeah, so the team strategy is off. But the lack of depth happened, I believe, before some of these moves. And so, some of it is just that it's a younger developing team that still needs to bring in that influx of talent. They need to hit on the people they draft, and they need to be right in free agency. And so I think they're a cycle behind. All I was really getting at was that I think they overperformed for where they're at in their developmental cycle as a team.
Yeah, and I think Tannehill overperformed for the season last year.
Yeah, that's fine. Fair enough. All right, let's go back to this group of 10 because there was one when I looked at this originally that jumped out at me. Maybe you think I'm an asshole for saying this, but man, Larry Fitzgerald, 69, it's too high. His time has come and gone. He's one of the best receivers ever to play the game. But he's not top 70, man. That's my opinion.
I 100% agree with you. 100%. That was my next one I was going to go to.
Okay.
I don't know. I struggle to say that he's still one of the top 100 players in the league.
Yeah, I do too. I agree. He's had a hell of a career, and I don't want to take anything away from him, but at some point you got to pass the torch on to somebody else. And
right. I mean,
yeah.
Just looking at the receivers that are behind him, definitely not better than Allen or DK Metcalf. Cooper Kupp.
And honestly, there's some guys on here, or some guys that aren't even on here, or they're on here later, like Allen Robinson. Definitely better than Fitzgerald in my opinion. But there's a guy on here, or not on here, freaking Julian Edelman, man, he's not on here. And hey, do you want to call it out? Is it just him in Belichick's system? Is it him with Brady? I don't know, but I would rather have Edelman right now than Larry Fitzgerald. I think Fitzgerald was amazing his whole career, but I think Edelman has more in the tank than Fitz does.
Exactly. There's a reason why. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald is now the third best receiver on his team.
Yeah, because he's past his prime, way past his prime.
At highest third best on his team.
Yeah.
I mean, DeAndre Hopkins definitely better.
Yeah, you got Christian Kirk on the way up. Yep.
On the way up, and I don't have their entire depth chart, but I'm sure. I mean, he might even fall below that.
Yeah.
I mean, Kenyon Drake's almost a better wide receiver than Fitzgerald at this point.
Yeah, and hey, man, I love the guy. He's a class act. He's been a solid player in this league, but he's in decline. It's time to drop him. And that's just my opinion. I feel like a dick saying it, but I just don't see it anymore. All right, so aside from him, honestly, this is just nitpicking at this point, but I'd put Fred Warner above DeMario Davis. And maybe this is one where Fred Warner is discounted because he's not had as much time in the league performing like Demario Davis. But they're both good, and like I said, it's nitpicking. They're both here. They're
Yeah.
both in the level. I'm fine with it. Okay, you got anything else for this group? My other comment was on Jarvis Landry, but we already covered that.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, let's go 71 to 80. So here we go. Jarrell Casey, Josh Jacobs, Fletcher Cox, Rodney Stanley, Earl Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore, Keenan Allen, Tyron Smith, Calais Campbell, and Myles Garrett. Would you like to kick this off? Because I don't know what it is about this group, but I got a note on almost everyone here.
I don't know which one to start with.
All right, let me kick it off then. Let me kick it off. Let me just let me do it, dude. Just let me do it. All right, so here's one that's interesting to me. Let me put it that way. Is Josh Jacobs, okay, at 72. I like this guy. I like him a lot. I think he's the real deal. I think he's going to develop as he goes on with his passing skills. If the Raiders let him, they didn't want him on the floor or on the field on third down much last year, and I get it. They had Jalen Richard, and they made it work. But I can't help but wonder: are people going to take something away from this guy because he's running behind one of the better offensive lines in the league, or are people going to recognize that he is really that good of a running back and that it was really impressive what he did as a rookie this past year?
Yeah, I like Josh Jacobs a lot. I think I might be confusing him with someone else on the injury. Didn't he miss some time last year because of like a couple games last year because of injury?
I can try and look it up real quick. I thought he played the whole year, but maybe towards the end he had. Let's see. Okay, so he was playing through a shoulder injury, but he played.
But he only played 13 games last year.
Well, there you go.
Okay, in 13 games, he had 1,100 rushing yards.
Yep.
7 TDs. Okay, 166 receiving yards.
Which they didn't have him on third downs very often at all.
Exactly. I think this is way too low for him.
You put him up higher.
I'd put him up higher.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be, where do we see, how he's perceived in the league? Are they going to say he's running behind a great line and they're going to discount him again? Or are they going to say, nope, this guy's the real deal? I think he's the real deal.
And with this group, besides Josh Jacobs, I think that Fletcher Cox I think that's a little high for him.
You do, huh? See, for him,
Yeah.
man, I don't know. Maybe I've got some historical stuff going on in my head. I like Fletcher Cox, and I kind of looked at the list and I'm like, I guess I'm okay with him here. But I was wondering, should he be higher? All right, here's another one that for me, you've heard me chime in on this a couple times tonight, but it's the offensive lineman, and you got Ronnie Stanley at 74. This guy is, we're talking another one of these guys that's like one of the best linemen in the league, and he's like just barely by a hair in the top 75. I don't know, man. I just think these offensive linemen got to get some love at some point.
Yeah. So I went and looked. My memory on Fletcher Cox versus what the stats show is a little bit different.
Okay.
Like for some reason, I felt like Fletcher Cox was on the downswing a little bit, but the stats don't really show that. So I just remembered something.
Well, in defensive tackles, man, it's tough to gauge them because they don't typically have a ton of sacks, and they don't typically have a ton of tackles. And it's one of these things where it's like, how do you measure really how key of a player they are on the team when there's not a lot of tangible things to point to?
Yeah, and like last year was his lowest sack total. So, I mean, that might be what I'm remembering. But I mean, still, like, I mean, in 2017 he had two more sacks. He had 5.5 sacks in 2017. And he only played in 14 games.
Yeah.
I mean, where the big difference is from 18 to 19. He went from 10.5 to 3.5.
I gotcha. Yeah. It's a
So
big
I think
drop.
that's
Yeah.
that. I think that's where I was remembering, but it's not. If you look at the other stats, it's about pretty much the same tackles wise, QB hits wise. Besides the last from 18 to 19. So I'd be interested to see to go in it more in depth on him and from 18 to 19 and see what happened.
Gotcha. Yeah, so he just didn't get home as much. That's what
Yeah.
happens, you know. All right, so here's another one that honestly to me it's like the defensive version of Larry Fitzgerald to some degree, maybe not to the same degree, but it's Earl Thomas. I see this guy. He's in decline, man, and he's got a great supporting cast, and I get it that helps him perform, but man, you know, you can't bake that much of a legacy into the top 100 when you're looking at the top 100 today, right now. I I drop him down. I don't know. Maybe he just barely stays in the top 100, but I don't think he's. I don't think he should be this high by any means. 75? No way, man.
I left because I 100% agree with you. That was the next one I was going to go to after Fletcher Cox. Is he's on the back end of his career. He's declined. So I think this having him this high is still a legacy thing
Yeah.
because because these because the list is top 100 to play against. So people have more of a memory of playing against Earl Thomas when he
Legion
was
of Boom, Earl Thomas.
yeah,
Yeah.
and as opposed to where he is now,
Yeah.
and that might be why he's a little high. Uh, and you go two down from him, Keenan Allen, I
Yeah.
at 77. It what am I missing on that? Like, I I would think he'd be at least top 60, top 50.
Yeah. So Keenan Allen, man, I tell you, that's a funny one for me because I heard that he bitched a lot about his top 100 ranking, and I heard he's done that like every year the last couple of years, and I think that every year the last couple of years, including this year, you could argue that he's been underrated and that he should be higher. Uh, but I look now going forward, and I gotta say, it's going to be tough for him because they're not going to pass the ball like they did with Philip Rivers. Tyrod Taylor just he doesn't wing it out like that, and so I think that you know, like I hate saying it, but Keenan Allen he should enjoy it while it's here because they're going to go run first this year. He's not going to have the same kind of stats, and this ranking's going to drop next year. That's my thought.
Yeah. Well, I I'll give you that. That is, it's he's probably not going to have the stats. But then again, with the rookie quarterback or a not as talented quarterback,
Maybe they
well,
focus on him and he still gets his stats.
let me rewind. Last year, Philip Rivers was terrible.
But he threw for a lot of yards.
Right. Last year, Rivers was terrible and turned the ball over all the time.
Yes.
They're taking another step back at quarterback from Philip Rivers.
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot of focus on the run game, and not on from defense. A lot of focus on the run game and stopping
Yeah.
that run game, and stopping Eckler and whoever and what's his face. It's the backup. Is it Kelly?
Jackson. Or the rookie
Yeah.
Josh Kelly.
Yeah. So focus on stopping them, and also the rookie quarterback is going to first try to develop with the relationship with the number one receiver, and the rookie quarterback, or even what's his face,
Tyrod
who's the
Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, I got stuck on Teddy Bridgewater, and I couldn't think
Oh
think of
yeah. Nope, they're different people. Maybe
Yeah,
alter egos, but they're different.
yeah. We have never seen them in the same place, have we?
I've not, but I've never seen either of them, so I don't know.
So, anyways, so they're gonna focus on they're gonna be zoomed in on Keenan Allen, and their first read is
But do you think that
what they're
they're
gonna.
going to be when they got Mike Williams and Hunter Henry? And they have Eckler out of the backfield. That's all I'm saying is just that I don't know that they're going to. And Tyrod Taylor's been in the league long enough that I don't think he's going to fixate on one guy because he's seasoned to know not to do that. I think if they hand it off to Herbert and he comes in, yeah, that probably bodes well for Keenan Allen. But you're talking about a rookie quarterback who's really not going to air it out that much. And
Yeah.
then I don't know. I like Tyrod Taylor in general. I liked him going back to his days in Baltimore as a backup, and I was excited to see him go to Buffalo. It didn't work out, and then obviously Cleveland really didn't freaking work out. I'm hoping that the guy puts it together because I really do like him. Man, I don't know. This is a team that's been snake bitten for years, and I think they're going to be in trouble this year. Even though I think they have one of the more talented rosters in the league. They've had one of the more talented rosters in the league for like 5 years, and they've not been able to do anything with it.
Yeah, exactly. I think last year, part of the issue last year, I think they could have been part of the issue was Rivers like to throw to the other team thinking they were a Charger. I think maybe the move to Los Angeles confused him,
Yeah.
and he forgot what team he was playing for because he never actually moved to LA.
Yeah, it's still Cali, but it's like it's
He,
different. I know.
right, Philip Rivers never actually moved to LA though.
Yeah,
He was commuting up to LA from San Diego.
yeah. So somebody was calling him on his commute, pissing him off, and getting in his head, and yeah,
Yeah. So he just give the ball to the other team. And but the other issue was defensively they had a lot of injuries.
yeah, and that hurt him for sure.
Yeah. But it also hurt them that their quarterback was giving the ball over at their own 20-yard line.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can't have that happening. All right, so here, let me just I guess move on to a couple other comments I got on this group of 10. Okay, um, one of them, and I'm just throwing this out there, but it's Calais Campbell. This is a guy that like has historically been underrated as a player, and he's one of my favorite players in the league. This is where I talk about defensive ends, man. You know, if you're not getting the sacks, you don't get the attention. And he's one of these guys that he locks down his side of the line, no questions asked, and has done it his whole career. He did it in Arizona. I was so pissed off when Jacksonville picked him up. I wanted the Lions to make a move on him so bad, but we know the Lions always fuck it up, and so we didn't get him. But now he's going to Baltimore, and hey, I don't know my feelings on Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. The guy's crazy as hell. I'm hoping they put it together to get him a Super Bowl because I love Calais Campbell. The guy deserves one before he goes out, and I know he's getting towards the end of his career here. Just throwing that out there. My last note on this group of 10 is Myles Garrett at 80. I think had he not had the incident that he had last year with Pittsburgh, which, by the way, I was at that game, totally crazy. My first time going to Cleveland game. It was awesome. It was freezing ass cold. But had that not happened, Myles Garrett would be easily 30 spots higher on this list.
Oh, he should easily be 30 spots higher. 30 spots higher on this list. Last year he only played in 10 games. He had a sack a game.
Yep.
A sack a
Can he
game.
maintain that? I don't know, but I think this year he's going to come out on fire, and he's got to basically shake off that bad memory and prove that he is that guy. And I think he's going to do it, man. I think he's going to do it, and I think he's for sure in the top 50 next year on this list.
Oh, he easily he damn well better be.
All right, who else did you have to comment on before we hit 81 through 90?
that was about it. We kind of hit them. My comments were along with your comments. Like
Yeah.
Miles Garrett is just he's ridiculously talented.
He's a freak, man. He's a
And
freak.
and every year, if you look at his stats, every year he progresses better and better and
Yeah.
better.
Oh, yeah.
So
And
I
the
mean,
team is getting better around him. I know that last year they didn't put it all together, but you look at what they did since last year. The team is getting better. It's just, I think Cleveland is. They're like right at that phase where they're like starting to get that snowball effect. They've got their nucleus, and it's getting bigger and it's getting bigger. And they got a new coach this year, and so I'm not expecting them to light the world on fire this year. But man, I think next year, 2021, Cleveland's going to be a competing team. Man, I think they can make it happen.
yeah, exactly. I think this year's going to be better than last year because they're not coming in with the expectations that they did last year.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, some pressure's off. It's like, okay, guys, let's get out of our own heads. Let's start over and figure this thing out. Yeah. I like Cleveland long term, man. I think, opposite of the Lions, Cleveland is making good, smart moves for the future. Freddie Kitchens was stupid as hell. You know, let's not go back that far because I could keep bitching about it. But all right, let's go on 81 through 90. 81, we got DK Metcalf, then we got Ryan Ramczyk, Eric Kendricks, Cameron Hayward, Zach Ertz, Marlon Humphrey, Josh Allen, Jalen Smith, Cooper Kupp, and Kyler Murray. And by the way, I should say Josh Allen, the quarterback, not the defensive end. For me, I am mostly okay with this group. I kind of hem-hawed back and forth about a few of the names, and I can comment on a lot of them. But I think I'm good just in general with all of them in this range. Probably the only one that I really feel passionately that should be higher is Zach Ertz. But I think aside from our top couple guys, there's not really been a lot of representation at tight end, and Ertz has been solid. But that's just my one thought. What do you think?
I think this is mostly an okay range. One issue I have is Kyler Murray at number 90.
All right, let me hear it because I got a lot to say about that.
So Kyler Murray is a phenomenal quarterback, in my opinion. Kyler Murray is probably in my top 5 quarterbacks in the league.
Shit, that's high.
I think this year coming in, Kyler Murray is. I will save that comment for later. We'll go more into it for one of our other videos. But why Kyler Murray is going to be the MVP this year?
Oh, well, all right. So I've heard some people make that same kind of claim. Let me tell you this, okay? I went and I looked at some stats of quarterbacks after their rookie year to see where they landed on this list, okay? And there's 2 of them that I think are worth pointing out. If you go back to Cam Newton's rookie year, after that season, he hit at 40 on the top 100. And statistically, Cam was significantly better than Kyler Murray. More rushing yards, more touchdowns, whatever. So I looked at another one that's closer to today's day and age, which was Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield, after his rookie year, landed at 50 on the top 100. Baker Mayfield, definitely more touchdowns. I think he had probably 7 more touchdowns. I think he had 27 passing touchdowns to Murray's 20. And I don't know how many Murray might have had running, but
He had 4.
okay, so they're a little bit closer. So here's my thing: when I saw when I saw Murray at 90, my initial reaction was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Because I guess I just at this point in the rankings have been so bent out of shape at what they've done with quarterbacks, And it all started at Jimmy G. And it just kind of never got out of my head that the quarterback rankings here were off. But the more I looked at Kyler Murray's stats, the more I agree with you. He was on a shitty-ass team, and he made a lot of plays. And he moved around out of the pocket. He did a lot of things that you do not expect a rookie to do. He put a lot of touch on his pass, which we've never seen Matthew Stafford do despite all his crazy-ass stats. I think Kyler Murray is on the way up. I think 90 was a freaking bargain for him. I think with Cam at 40 after his rookie year, Baker at 50 after his rookie year, Kyler probably should have been in the 50s somewhere, maybe the low 60s at the worst, my opinion.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was highly suspect of Kyler Murray going into last year. But after I did my evaluation, looked at all the stats, everything, I'm high on him like you are, man. I don't know if I see him be an MVP this year, but I definitely like him.
Yeah. That's just my thing is there's no way he should be at 90.
Yeah. Yeah, and below, well, this is tough because you got Josh Allen right there. And, Josh Allen, I know we talked about, the guy won some games for his team. He's shown progression in the league. But you can say a lot of negative things about Josh Allen too. So, I don't know. Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Josh Allen. Josh Allen found a way to contribute more to his team, I think. But I think that changes this year.
All right. So if you just want to compare something real quick.
Yes.
Last year, Kyler Murray threw had 542 attempts.
Yes.
3,700 yards. 349 completions. Josh Allen had 461 attempts.
Yeah. Totally different kind of quarterback, man.
Threw for 3,000 yards.
Yes.
Okay. And then you just want to go to the rushing. I guess Josh Allen had a little bit more yards rushing. 109 rushes for 510 yards, where Kyler Murray had, just once it loads.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Josh Allen, he is, at this stage of his career, he's more of a Cam Newton than he is any kind of a passer, man. He's more about, I'm going to make you think I'm going to run, and then I'm going to pass.
Oh, never mind. Kyler Murray had 93 rushes for 544 yards last year.
Yeah, so he was solid on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, hey, that's fine. So you put Kyler Murray above him. I got you. I look at, this is one of those factors, man. It's like team wins. Yeah, Buffalo had it going on. But at the same time, Arizona obviously picked number one for a reason. They were a shitty-ass team. And so Kyler Murray's got a bigger mountain to climb.
And if you want to compare him to somebody else's rookie year?
Sure.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, let's hear it. But Lamar didn't play the whole year.
He didn't play the whole year. Lamar Jackson had 147 rushes for 695 yards.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson had a 58% completion percentage. He had 1,200 yards in 7 games started. So he had what? Where's yards per game? Yards per game. 75 yards per game passing. That can't be right. No, that's not right. 171.
Okay.
Kyler Murray, 232.
Yeah, it's a big difference. But
64% completion percentage.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have expected them to be comparable. Lamar is definitely more about the ground game than the pass game. But I hear what you're saying. You're just giving us another point of reference. All right, so let me ask you, when you look at some of the other players in this group of 10, here's one that, I know I said, hey, I thought Zach Ertz should be higher. I probably would have put him above DK Metcalf. Um, you know, I also, with DK Metcalf, I might have swapped him with A.J. Brown, just because I think A.J. Brown meant a lot more to the Titans than Metcalf meant to the Seahawks last year. But I think, you look at what Metcalf did going into the playoffs, and, he definitely showed that he's got some pizzazz with the game that could be, this year could be the big breakout year. I guess we'll see what happens. Um, I don't know, man. What did you think about the rest of the guys in that grouping?
I thought DK Metcalf was a little. I think actually that's about right for him.
Okay.
I think Zach Ertz probably should be higher. I agree. I don't know about Marlon Humphrey in here.
Okay.
I just I have issues with him being higher than Darius Slay.
Yeah, I think part of it is just because their secondary in general was just freaking lights out last year. How much
Yeah.
was that? How much of that was him? How much of that was just the team in general? I don't know. My opinion on Slay. I don't really like Slay, but part of that's because he's not a Lion anymore, and I feel like the Lions got shafted on that deal. But yeah, you're probably right. Slay's probably a better cornerback than Humphrey, if I take out my biased opinion.
Yeah, like I mean, even statistically, like Humphrey had 3 interceptions and 14 pass defenses, where Slay had, and I should have these numbers more available because we just talked about Slay. Eh, I guess I guess it's about the same for them. Wow, I didn't think it would be that.
Yeah, Slay's a good man-to-man guy though, so
Yeah,
you know. All right, here's a guy on the list that I'm glad is still on here, and honestly, I'm hoping he stays that way. But he didn't get a lot of attention this last year. Was Jalen Smith with Dallas? Uh, his story coming out of Notre Dame, the way he got hurt and basically didn't play for a year, and a lot of people were wondering if his career was ever even going to happen. Um, Man, he flies around the field, and he's a great tackler. I think he's like a perfect linebacker for today's game. The combination of the speed, the combination of the tackling ability. Man, I don't know. I like this guy.
yeah, I agree. I agree with you with him. Like I think I can't add much to it. Can't add much
He's
to what you
yeah.
said. You summed it up pretty well.
All right. What else you got for that group, or you want to move on to the last one here?
Is Cooper Cup underrated?
Oh, little Cooper Cup. Um, Listen, man. When he got drafted, I was one of a few people, at least in my circle, that was like, man, I think this guy's got something. And I think that, Sean McVay has capitalized on every bit of ability that Cooper Cup has. Um, and I hope it stays that way. I like him. I think physically, he is not the most gifted wide receiver by any means, but he gets every ounce out of his potential. And, could you put him higher on this list? I would put him higher than Fitz, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys I'd put higher than Fitz. How high would you put him? Man, I don't know. I'm just going to flip through. I could easily see Cooper Cup being in the 70s. Um, could I put him higher than that? Could I put him in the 60s? Maybe. I could probably put him in the 60s. But I like Cooper Cup a lot more than most. So I'm just throwing that out there.
I asked that because I like Cooper Cup a lot.
Yeah.
I think he's he's I think he's the next Edelman.
Yeah, I could see, a version of that in his game. Yeah.
He has I would definitely put him above the head case of Odell.
Yeah, man, I think Odell has more potential. He just isn't going to get there again. I think he,
Well,
you know, he like he took like a more gradual approach than Antonio Brown did with his psychoness. But I don't know that he's going to recover. Just like Antonio Brown may never recover, man.
well
Once these receivers go crazy, that's the end of it, dude.
but you want see something interesting. Cooper Cup, when Jared Goff was having the terrible year in 2017,
Yeah,
still caught 66% of
yeah,
had catch percentage of 66%. Last year with Baker Mayfield, who's supposed to be the next coming at quarterback, which I'm not sure about,
yeah,
Odell had a 55%
yeah. That's not good.
catch rating, catch percentage. Last year, Cooper Cup had a 70% catch percentage.
So here's my only concern with Cooper Cup, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate here because I know I'm biased. But if you put Cooper Cup in a more traditional offense, do you think he could really succeed as a wide receiver one like he has? I think part of his success is that he's not really a true wide receiver one. Up until, now, he's had Brandon Cooks, he's had Robert Woods, and they've all kind of like been interchangeable. They've run different routes and they've done different things, but I think defenses have never really looked at any of those three as really being the number one. I think if you put him like here, let's just say you put him on the Lions, and well,
Well,
that's a
you put him
bad
on the
it's a
Lions.
bad
He's
example.
he's still number two. There's somebody that should be on the list. I don't remember seeing on the list.
He's not on here. You're talking about Galladay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got him after we get through the 100. I got basically my 10 guys that didn't make the cut that I want to talk about, and I still want to do that. But we can talk about Galladay now if you want.
No, that's fine. I was just pointing out that the Lions would be a bad example.
Yes, but yeah, I'm just saying that like you put him on Cleveland instead of Odell Beckham. I'd be nervous about that because I think he needs to be on a team with a guy like McVay running the deal. I think that he's not a traditional number one. That's all I'm saying.
That's that's a good point. I like him a lot. Like Cooper Cup a lot. I probably would have him higher, but I
But
think
you're biased.
I think it might be my bias towards the fact that I like him, but also if you agree that he's underrated, I mean,
Then he should be higher.
then he should be higher.
Yeah, yeah. I think he should be higher. I'm just worried about how high. But all right, so let's hit the last 10 here, and then we'll go on to some other guys that we like that didn't make the list and whatnot. But 91 through 100, okay? We got Grady Jarrett, Darius Slay, Allen Robinson, Jason Kelsey, Frank Clark, Chris Carson, Buda Baker, Brandon Brooks, Darren Waller, and Levante David. I will let you kick this off.
Allen Robinson should not be on this list.
Oh, man, I disagree. I think
Allen
Allen Robinson is a
not
solid. Here's the thing. Like we just talked about Cooper Cup. I think if you put Allen Robinson in any offense, he can be a wide receiver one. I think Cooper Cup in certain offenses, can't be a wide receiver one. I don't know. I just think Allen Robinson, I get it. He's on a team with a fucking shitty ass quarterback, okay? But I think if you put him on a team with a real quarterback, I think he's a legit wide receiver one in this league, man. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. He's got the size. He's got the physical ability. He hit shit. The 1 year in Jacksonville, he had like fucking 15 touchdowns. He can show that he can do it. He's just not been put in the position to succeed.
That may be why I don't like him.
All right, and he's on the fringe anyhow, man. He's at 93, so come on, throw me a bone here. That's all I'm asking, James.
But he's not better. Let's name some people. He's not better than Galladay.
Well,
he's not better than Emmanuel Sanders.
I think he is.
See, who else?
I think Emmanuel Sanders at this point in time is in the perfect situation being a wide receiver 2 in New Orleans. I don't think he's a featured guy anymore.
He's not better than what's his face in Dallas?
What, Amari Cooper?
No, the other guy.
Michael Gallup?
Yeah.
I think so. I think he can be. And maybe part of that is because we haven't seen Gallup have to assume that top role. But I don't know, dude. I like Allen Robinson.
He's not better than Juju.
I would say based on last year, I think Juju's got to reprove himself. That's all I'm saying.
Last year, Juju had a duck throwing him the ball, and
I know, but look at who Allen Robinson has him throwing him the ball, man.
Okay. If you're giving me the choice between Duck, whatever his last
Duck
name
Hodges,
was, Duck Hodges, whatever the other guy's
Mason
name
Rudolph.
is. Yeah, Mason Rudolph and Trubisky. I'll take Trubisky all day.
It sucks. None of them are good. Let's just say that. Okay. But okay, so you don't like Allen Robinson. Give me somebody else. Like on this list of 10.
Chris Carson.
You don't think he should have made it? Man, here, let me tell you my thoughts on Chris Carson, okay? So number one, I've already told you that I think that the offensive players sans the offensive linemen and the tight ends have been inflated, and they get a little bit more attention. It's not an even dispersion between offense and defense. But when it comes to Chris Carson in particular, I like this guy a lot. And I know he's had some fumbling issues, but I also look at his production. I look at how hard of a runner he is on a team that really has a suspect offensive line. And the guy has got it done for the last couple of years. And so when I saw him just make the top 100, I was actually pretty happy with that. I thought, hey, this is a blue collar guy that's grinding away, making it happen, and he's getting a little bit of respect here. I was happy with it, but that's just my take.
So I think Mostert's better.
Okay.
I think Philip Lindsay is better.
I like Philip Lindsay. I don't know if I'd say he's better than Carson, but okay.
I think
in Mostert, we need to see on a full year. Yeah, this is where you get to like an apples and oranges comparison.
Yeah,
No, Shanahan can make any running back look good, man.
Okay, I think.
Let's put it this way.
I think Damian Williams is better.
I think Damian Williams in that offense is, it's an apples to oranges thing. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. And this is me reverting to, I like those old school kind of pounder running backs, and Chris Carson's, he's kind of one of those guys, man. He's good at running between the tackles, getting the hard yards, and he like does it week in and week out. I don't know. I appreciate that. I appreciate that probably more than most. And he had big shoes to fill. He had to step in for Marshawn Lynch, man. I mean, that's, the guy's done a pretty darn good job. But I hear you. I hear you. Okay. So who else you got? Here, I'll give you one. I'll give you one because you're dogging my guys. I'm gonna dog one of your guys. Okay. Darren Waller, I do not think should be on this list. And
I agree.
I I thought you were a big Darren Waller proponent, but now I am just gonna sit back.
No, I think Darren Waller is. I think he's a solid tight end. I think I like him as a player, but I think there's too many people that were left off this list,
Like Mark Andrews at tight
like
end.
like Mark Andrews at tight end, like Galladay,
Yeah.
like Edelman, like I trying to come up with others,
Any
but I
any
think
number of them. I got you. Yeah,
yeah,
I know, and
I
I
think
agree with you. I thought you were going to argue with me because Waller came out, lit it up the first half of the year, but man, he faded the second half. You know, we talked about it before. Hunter Renfrow started chewing up his targets, and you know, I got to see more out of Darren Waller to believe that he's the real deal. But he showed in the first half that he could be. We just got to see it over a full year. And I think it's absurd that he made this list over Mark Andrews with the year Mark Andrews had. But that's my opinion.
exactly.
So, all right, aside from that, man, I like Levante David. I thought he should have been higher on the list. I think Tampa Bay is a defense that's going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think they showed it in the last half of last year that they're coming around. Brady's going to put him in a way better position than Winston did. And I think, you know, Levante David, he's the heartbeat of that defense, man. So I like that guy. I'm glad he's in the top 100. I just think he could have been higher.
Yeah, I agree. I
All
keep
right.
when I read Brandon Brooks, I keep seeing Brandon Cooks, and I'm like, why the hell's he on this list? But
Yeah, Brandon Cooks, I think he barely even played last year. But Brandon
yeah,
Brooks, so he like retired and then unretired, I think. And so now he's coming back to Philly, which it's good because they need it. But all right, so yeah, let's talk more about some of those guys that didn't make the list. Okay, so you named a few. Do you have some more that you want to touch on, or do you want me to go through my list? And some of the guys you named are on my list.
I think that those are about that I'm coming up with off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, like earlier, I was saying when I went through this exercise, because all these are exercises for me. I love reading and thinking, and trying to evaluate this stuff. I looked at every team and I said, who are my top players on every team? And then I tried to look at them kind of as a whole and say, is this guy better than that guy? Vice versa. And it's tough because we talk about scheme, supporting cast, all that kind of stuff, differences of positions. But I came up with 10 guys, and I got my list. I would say it's in no particular order, but it's actually in alphabetical order by team name, starting with linebacker Jordan Hicks with Arizona. He's a guy, steady performer, linebacker. Just in general, I think the defensive players, they get shortchanged on this list, and he could have made it. I think that some people are arguing, you can't put Chandler Jones and Jordan Hicks and too many people from Arizona on here because they sucked. Okay, and I get that, but Patrick Peterson didn't make the list this year, rightfully so. He was suspended for a huge part of the season. But Hicks had like 140 something freaking tackles, man. I mean, the guy should have been on here. The next guy I got is Alex Mack with Atlanta. One of my favorite offensive linemen. I know he's starting to get to the twilight days of his career, but he's still solid. He's like probably one of the only good linemen on that line. Well, I guess I don't want to say that. They got Jake Matthews. He's actually really come around from where he started in the league. But Atlanta has a subpar line, and Alex Mack, he's been steady. So I like that guy. This next one you might laugh at. I've gone back and forth on it, but Justin Tucker, what the fuck, man? We can't have a kicker on the list? Are you kidding me? I I know Adam Vinatieri's made this list before. If that guy can make the list, and hey, he's Mr. Clutch. Okay, I get it. But Justin Tucker has got an amazing leg. He's been solid for his team. Let's get the guy up here. Next, I got Joe Mixon from Cincinnati. He's one of the true workhorse running backs in this league. And yeah, maybe we got too many offensive players on here. Okay, I get it. He didn't make the cut. But Cincinnati is a dog shit team with a dog shit offensive line. I think it's going to be a lot better this year. But Mixon he's done some good things with the team that he's had around him. And so I think he should get a little bit more credit than what he's gotten, in my opinion. Next, I got Kenny Golladay. You like Kenny Golladay. I like Kenny Golladay. People need to remember he had a bunch of random quarterbacks, David Blau, and whoever else throwing him the ball last year because Stafford was out half the year. And he still put up good stats, good touchdowns, good yardage. He's a good quarterback. Not a ton of receptions, but he makes the most of them. The next guy I got on here is Rodney Hudson from the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. I got to get used to saying that. I mean, come on, man. I know I mentioned Alex Mack, but Rodney Hudson, probably the best safety, probably the best center in the league. Okay, let's give the guy a little bit of respect here, give him a little bit of love. Then I got Julian Edelman at wide receiver. We talked about him. I got another lineman, Teron Armstead with the Saints. That guy's a beast. He should get a little bit of love. Will Hernandez, this one probably people are going to maybe think I'm crazy, but, I think he's one of the best run blocking guards in the league. Maybe I'm a year early on putting him in the list, but I would have him up there somewhere. And my last guy that missed the list, which, man, I'll pound the table day in, day out, and I know I'm biased because I used to play fullback, but Kyle Juszczyk from San Francisco. You got to give that guy some love. He made some plays in the Super Bowl. He was a big part of that team last year, helping them run the ball, helping them do whatever they needed to do. He was clutch in the passing game in the limited amount they needed him. He came through. Come on, man. Get him out here somewhere.
Interesting.
That's my rant, man. That's my rant. What do you think of my rant? You can't see a kicker. You can't see a fullback. I don't know, man. Shoot me straight.
No, the issue with the kicker is how what this list was, or how it was described is the top 100 players to play against. And the problem with the kicker is you're not really playing against the kicker.
Okay.
But then again, if Vinatieri's been on it, then
maybe you could throw one in every now and then. All right, but okay, so take the kicker out of it.
Zerline then, because Zerline barely ever misses a field goal,
and he's got a monster leg too.
Yeah, or Prater. Prater has a huge leg.
Yeah, but Prater's had some issues.
No, I know. I was just knocking your kicker.
I got you. All right, so what do you think about the fullback?
I don't have an issue with the fullback because if you're going to have offensive linemen on this list, why not have a fullback on this list?
I think fullback is a dying breed, and this guy was a key part of that offense, man.
Exactly. I just still can't get over the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is number 43 on this list.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. The players must really think he's legit for him to be that high. And hey, maybe this year he shows us that it's right. I don't know. We'll see. But here's the thing. So when they traded for him, what did he go for? 5 for 5. He won his first 5 games or something with San Francisco.
I thought it was more. I thought it was 6 for 6, but
maybe I forget how it worked. But he came in. He looked so calm and collected in the pocket, and he made these plays, and he got it done. And then he got hurt, and when he came back from injury, man, he looked like a totally different quarterback. In this past year, it looked like he started getting some of it back, but he still looked highly erratic. In that Super Bowl game, man, that just bothers me because that team was on fire, and in my opinion, he fucking ruined it for him. I know that Mahomes raised Kansas City to a level that, hey, maybe you say it's unfair to put that on Jimmy Garoppolo, but man, he had his chance. All he had to do was not blow it, and he fucking blew it, man.
Yeah. Uh, he blew it. Like I said, he hits Emmanuel Sanders, game over.
Yeah. Yeah, or if you hit any of those ghost receivers that you were throwing to, you'd have probably maintained the lead, and it never would have been an issue.
You don't go 3 for 200 in the second half.
Yeah, I'm pretty
I,
sure it
I
was 3 for 11, but it might have been 3 for 9.
Yeah,
Either way, it
something
was
like that.
bad.
Like
Yeah,
it was terrible.
yeah, and that was, I think, just in the fourth quarter. I don't know what the whole second half was, but all right. So okay, so let's just hit some other thoughts here. One of the things I looked at with the top 100, so we talked about the 55-45 split, but there were also, from the way I added up, 6 teams that didn't have a player on the list. Cincinnati, Detroit, Jacksonville, Miami, New York Jets, and Washington, which I'm sure you could imagine most of those because they all suck. Of those 6 teams, it looks like 5 of them, 4 or 5 of them, had a player that made the top 100, but the guy got traded. And so, like an example of that is Darius Slay. He was on the Lions last year, made the top 100, but we traded him to Philly. We didn't get shit in return, but we did it. So it is what it is. But, when you think of just the dispersion across the league, you got 100 people in the top 100. Duh. You got 32 teams. So basically, if it was spread out evenly, your team should have 3 guys in the top 100. And you got 6 teams that had 0, man. How crazy is that?
Well, I think some of that has to do with the fact that like like the Lions, they traded Slay away and Slay's on the list. Like if the Lions hadn't traded him, they would have had one.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess if you take back those trades, you're only talking 1 or 2 teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, yeah, we're looking at Slay, Minka Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, and Jamal Adams.
And Tunsil.
Yes. So,
yeah. Well, that's like 2 or 3 from Miami alone.
Yeah, 2 from Jacksonville, 2 from Miami. So, let's see. And then you got teams like Baltimore and New Orleans that were just stacked. They each had 7 players on the list.
Yeah, which is a surprise why New Orleans can't get over that. Well, they've had some bad luck in the playoffs. So I would start there.
I know, man. Honestly, I look at their team, and this is like the last run before Breeze is done. They got to make it count this year, and they've got the team to do it.
Yeah, and how Matt Ryan's not on this list is.
Yeah, that blows me away, dude, that Matt Ryan's not on here. That actually really upsets me because he's been a really smart, really solid quarterback for a long time now. And It's not like he's had like some huge fall off in production.
No, and as much as Atlanta throws the ball, you would think that you'd think he'd be on the list as much as he throws the ball. He had.
Yeah, maybe they're dogging him because of that. But, in the same token, then you would dog Stafford. And I know Stafford made the list just a couple years ago. The only reason he probably didn't make the list this year is because he missed half the season.
Yeah, because, I mean, he still he has a 66% completion percentage last year. Okay, so the stats did decline a little bit from the year before.
Yeah, hey, the guy, he still should have been there. And all right, here. Now I'm really, really regressing at this point. But here we go. Antonio Brown, if the guy was in the league, would have made the list. That ship has sailed. Joe Staley retired. I know it's been a few years since he's been on the list, but I'm bringing it up because it is sad that we no longer have a Central Michigan player representing the top 100. And it felt good because we had a nice run going back 7 or 8 years. But hey, I don't know. Maybe Antonio Brown will come back. We'll get back on there. Central needs to pump out a guy in this next year's draft. Come on, man. Otherwise, we got to rely on Eric Fisher, and we know he's a ways away from getting there. That was I just had to plug in the Central stuff at the end here, man. You know me and the Chippewas, man. I got to throw them out there.
Oh, I know. That's why I just let you have it, not commenting about it.
Yeah, you knew something was coming.
Yeah, I was trying to remember if it was last year or the year before that Joe Staley retired, but
this past year.
Yeah, and then they got what's his face from
Trent Williams.
Trent Williams, but he didn't play last year. That's why he's not on this list. But he's another one that probably should be on this list.
Yeah. I think that was a good move for San Francisco. Staley was at the end of his career, and they brought in a guy that's like smack dab in the middle of his career. Maybe towards the end a little bit, but mostly in his prime still. I think that's going to be a good move for them.
Yeah.
But it's a bummer. I like seeing my Central Michigan brethren, get a little bit of cred, and that's not happening anymore. All right, man. You got any final thoughts?
No, I think I've sprinkled my final thoughts in throughout.
Yeah. Hey, I thought it was good, man. You had a lot to say. You had a lot of stats. A lot of mine, I think, tonight was it was more like intangible stuff, just kind of gut feeling. I like this guy for this. I like this guy for that. You came in with a lot of stats, which is always good to back things up.
Yeah, mine was gut feeling and then going back and looking at the stats to verify my gut feeling.
Gotcha. All right. Well, hey, I guess just to close it off, anybody who's watching, thanks for watching. We're still looking for some comments on the page, subscribe, yada, yada, all that kind of crap. Otherwise, we're just going to keep doing this because we're having a heck of a lot of fun doing it. And James, it was a pleasure. I will catch you in a little bit, my friend.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Stay classy. I'll catch you later.
Later.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.